Howdy, y'all. Today we're going to be talking about outreach everywhere. You might be asking yourself, where can it be used? And my question to you is an answer called everywhere. So you'll see it right here, highlighted in yellow. We'll look at it as the side pane. We'll also look at it as the full screen, kind of the differences of both. Um, So there's two different components or two different layouts, two different uses for outreach everywhere. One is kind of the profile. It's what I consider it, has the information about the prospect here in red. The other one is the universal task flow here in green. There's similar elements to them, but they're used for completely different things. So we're going to step through kind of when you use what, how to get between the two, and so on and so forth. Notice this red, the profile. If I hit kind of the maximize button next to the X on that window, then this is what I would see. It's expanded out into the full screen. And again, this was if I had it on profile and now I expanded it out, I still see that profile. I have this overview section now that we're not really using right now, but we will in the future. Add notes and do different things, get some company information, so on and so forth. So that's what it looks like if I go full screen from the profile. If I go full screen from the task, this is what it looks like whenever you go full screen on a task. You have both the task and the profile there together. Um, so the reason this doesn't show up when it's the side pane is because there's a limited amount of real estate. Now that you have full screen, you actually get to see both things at the same time. So it's pretty neat that way. Let's go check and see what Outreach and Salesforce are up to, and we'll have a good time doing that, hopefully. All right. So here's that Brian Wilson. Again, this is the profile view. This is used to convey information about the prospect. You'll notice here that I can go big screen and it expands out. I still have kind of this side pane feeling thing, but then I have this more information that we kind of talked about: overview, activity, emails, sequences, and click any of these and see kind of what I've done regarding this prospect. There's no emails have gone out. They are in a sequence. They're in the buyer zone call and email sequence. So I'll place a call here momentarily and get an email going out on that. I did want to show you one other thing when it's at kind of that side pane. Sometimes notice how I just made it smaller, and now this is the stuff that was on that overview section when I was full screen. Well, this right here allows you to toggle back and forth between what was tabs when you went full screen. Profile is what it is on default, but when you open up and maximize, the profile's still here. You've got these different things. If I close it, or not close it, but minimize, it gets kind of stuck on overview because that's what was furthest to the left. So I can just change that back to profile. If I was on overview, it's not changing anything I'm doing over here unless I'm starting a sequence or something like that. And you'll notice if I change the lead record, it changes back to this profile default. So I think all of you are familiar with kind of this profile. It's how we see kind of quickly what's over on the left-hand side in Salesforce. And yeah, so that's the profile view. I'm going to show you. So Brian Wilson, he still at 1.0. I put him in buyer zone call and email, actively being sequenced, but it's on the first step. If you're on the first step, you haven't gone anywhere. So what we're going to need to do is hit this active task. So this right here, what I'm doing is for a one-off task. So something like buyer zone, it'll be this one-off. So I'll come, and this is kind of like the video that we have on how to start a call and email. I click this active task, right? And this is going to open a new window to the far left. That's kind of my carousel. And then here you'll see now we're into that task, universal task flow. Again, if you expand this, you're going to see the task flow component, the profile, and then all that information that we had along with the profile. If you make it small again, the task is what shows up here. So I have one active task for Brian Wilson. I know that because it's right here. Well, this is the active task. So when you have the universal task flow, you're actually looking at the task that's mentioned here. And so what we'll do is I'll go ahead and skip this step, and we'll see what happens to that active task. There's probably going to be another active task, but essentially, not probably, 100%, because we're going to go ahead and send that email, and then your next call task will come, but you're not going to be here to see it. You've already got this thing in a sequence. I'm going to skip the step. It goes back to the profile. It happens to go back to Brian Wilson just because he's the top one here. But you'll see this, touch 13 seconds ago. There is an active task that shows up, but it's for some time in the future. And the way I can look at this, I'm going to refresh my lead record. And you'll notice here, buyer's own call and email. Sequence, it's now on step 3. I skipped step 1. It went out, email step 2, and now my third step is a call. That's why it's showing an active task. But if I click on this, and you don't need to do this, by the way, once you get it into the sequence by completing that first call task, these will come up as they're due. You won't have to say, oh no, I've got one active task on this. If you're going through your universal task flow, you won't have to worry about that at all. So you'll notice due in 18 hours. So this isn't really a pertinent task for us. The other way, and you'll notice here as well, the universal task flow will stay open because this is telling you do this. It's not going to change based on where you are. It's only going to stay here because it wants you to actually do what you're supposed to do. So I need to close this, or I could skip it. Well, it's due in 18 hours, so I wouldn't actually be here in real life anyways. And then now, whenever I pull up a new lead record, it's going to start showing that as well. One other way to use universal task flow, and what we use it for most often, is to launch a bunch of similar tasks. So this REIT campaign that we just had, I know some instances where the first step didn't get logged as a task, so we want to skip that step and move them to the next. So what you would do for that instance, here, let me get back to home. So I made this big. So here was, let's do a refresh over here. Tasks, emails. There we go. So here's Buddy Holly. I'm going to come in and expand this. So it's easier to work in Outreach if it's expanded. I still like it as a side pane sometimes, so whatever floats your boat. Come down to sequences. Go to the outbound REIT. So that's what we're looking at now. You can also go into your tasks and look at ones that are on the first step. I'm going to come here and I'm going to look at tasks. And the only one I have is for Snoop Dogg. So we're good there. I'm going to look at Tom's just because I know he had some that were open. Okay, so this is one place where you can kind of sort through. So these are the ones that Tom has uh, probably called, all of them, I would imagine. I'm going to click just 5 of these, hit the play button, and this is going to open the universal task flow. We're still full screen. So we're getting the task flow, we're getting the profile, and we're getting the rest of the information from Outreach. If I want to see that Salesforce record, I can come down here and see, okay, did not leave voicemail, so maybe nobody picked up. Um, his name was not found in the directory. So this is still someone we want that email to go out to. So I'm going to do skip. We've already tried calling. Skip this step. James Blumenthal. So no lead found, and activity history, left live voicemail, definitely somebody we want. Skip. So what this is do is getting it to the next step. The REIT has some timing components. If you call in the afternoon, the email goes out in the morning. We're looking at changing some of those things. So it's not going to be instantaneous, but you'll be able to see that they've been moved on to the next step. So for example, William Wolf, I'm going to open this lead record so we can come back and look at it in a second. So William Wolf is on step 1. Let's see what we did here. Left live voicemail. Okay, I'm going to skip this step. So he's due for an email. He'll get an email first thing in the morning. And then this William Wolf right here, if I do a hard refresh, still hasn't changed. I'm going to go ahead and close out this task flow and come over to William. Let's do a hard refresh again here. Can take it a second. All right. There we go. Sequence step 2. So I'm doing this for a video, so I'm refreshing 10 times in 1 minute. You don't necessarily need to go and do that. You're just going to kind of be waiting. I understand the desire to do that. But at the same time, if you do this properly and with time, I think you'll get more comfortable and just know, okay, that's what's happening. That's what's going to happen. So again, that's how you would launch uh, all of your tasks, universal task flow. But yeah, that's Outreach Everywhere. That's how you use it. Notice William Wolf, he had one active sequence. It's gone now one active task. It's gone because it's queued up for an email. You don't have to do anything for that. When that email goes out, that's when your next task will pop up. So anyways, I hope this has been helpful. Sorry, no fancy highlighting this time. Time crunch. Thanks. Bye.